I'm Rod Duff from Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, folks, I am out. You caught me. I was hoping to sneak that in, after that trailer emphasizing my weaknesses in character oh shoot, you know what? I never took you off stage. I was going to do a bunch of introduction here, but Robert was taking care of something, and I thought I'd taken you off. I didn't even think about it. So much for all my big introduction, guys. I don't have a lot of lead in here because I don't want to be judged by Robert. I don't want to see him, his facial expressions of what a goofball kind of thing is he dealing with. And so what we'll do is we'll shorten down the front end of this, maybe be able to get a couple more minutes out the back side. I see we have our first person jumping on the board here. In all kidding aside, Robert Heavilin is a retired military serviceman from the Marine Corps. Ooh, yeah. And I have a special thing in my heart for that particular service. I also have a son that I raised who went to Tennessee, and then through that process decided he wanted to go into the police like his brother, and so he went into the Army, and he's serving in Leavenworth right now as a military police. So there's some connection there, and I think that's not an uncommon thing in America, seeing how hundreds and literally millions and millions of our neighbors, our sons, our fathers, our daughters, all of that has been going on for a long time. So, there's 370 million people in America, right? American citizens. And I'd be willing to, I don't know what the number is. Maybe you do, but it's like they ask the question, how many here have experienced, somebody with cancer? The same devastation effect, or different reason, but that devastation affects, I got to say, at least as many people across the country, because it is devastating. There's ADHD. There's things that a family and a situation are constantly trying to build. And when I said in an earlier discussion about this, we were talking about what's coming up today, and I was talking about how that is such a horrible thing, because you're not just leaving a job. You're not going from my desk job here and going over there. And yeah, anytime you change something, it's stressful. But Robert, come on, this is the ultimate. It's two ways. It's what you're there, always ready but very well trained, and got your brothers, but still always a real possibility of death. When you finally serve your time, and again, we talked off stage, thank you for your service. My dad was a Marine as well, and there's so many people that when you go through and you have the effects there, and then you come home, you talk about it in that transitioning thing. Actually, I did get my I actually got all my introduction out there right in front of you, and you were very kind. We got some people flowing aboard here, so why don't I throw it over to you, Robert? We'll go back and forth. I like to dig down there. I like to say this. I like to say that this podcast is for the great American middle class. Okay, and there's a lot of people in there, and in that class. Anything, I'm very confident. Anything that because I'm kind of the bottom level. If I understand it, if I get it, anybody out there can. Anybody can get it. So I may dig down a couple little deeper, because we don't just scratch the surface. We want to know all about how that organization started and beyond. Okay.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you having me here.
You bet.
It was awesome. Did a great job introduction. I'll kind of roll through a little bit more on my history, just so we cover the bases.
Okay.
I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps, 2013 through 2018. I got out in 2018, went back home, Spent 6 months being super glad that I was out of the Corps, being like, yay, nobody's here to tell me what to do anymore. 2019, it got 2019. I was like, man, I miss it. I miss my family unit. I miss the boys. I miss hanging out. I miss the purpose that I had while I was in. So I went out to contract again in 2019. And then I came home from that. My military service, 2013 through 18, went out, graduated boot camp, go off to MCT. While I was in MCT, I was sexually assaulted while I was there.
Wait. Where?
Marine combat training, MCT.
So you at training, you were sexually assaulted.
I was in a
you hear those stories every once in a while, and and they come and they go. But it's fairly, I don't want to say prevalent, but it freaks you out, right?
It happens, and it's very common. I will not speak on like the female experience. I am not a female, but on the male side, like I know, I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
there are stigmas that are surrounded in that. One, men don't get sexually assaulted. That's not a thing. Exactly. I heard that quite a bit. Being sexually assaulted makes you, I'm trying to think of the right word, but like gay. I'm not gay. I'm a straight male. I did not enjoy being sexually assaulted. So I didn't want to fall into that stigma that came with that. And so I just kept my mouth shut. Used it as a learning opportunity for me to, it actually changed the way I thought a lot on I just need to be better. And so I pushed myself extreme. I picked up sergeant within 3 years of me being in. Because
you felt less because of this.
Yep.
Inside of you then reacted by overperforming where you always were built.
Yep, exactly. And I use that. So my thought process was, as I picked up corporal, now I'm a non-commissioned officer. I am now in charge of Marines. Well, I can take care of them then. Okay, well, we get the sergeant. We can do a better job of taking care of more people, and noticing the signs of what I was going through. So I go through my time in. I see things that are changing, and I'm like, okay, it's time for me to get out. And the Marine Corps is no longer fun. And if it's no longer fun, I'm not going to be here. So I left. Went contracting, felt that reconnection, loved it and hated it. It was a weird mixture of feelings. And I get home. I go through a really ugly divorce. And during that time, I am really struggling with my mental health. Questioning whether or not I'm going to make it to the next day. Get through that eventually in 2024. We had talked about I went on up.
This is recent.
Yeah.
This obviously it's recent. You're not an old man, but I mean, literally months ago. So this is hot. This is fresh, and this is still part of that journey. I know the journey. I'm on the journey. You're on the journey, and this is part of it. So I didn't want to interrupt, but this is fresh.
Yeah. Actually, June, I reach out to a friend of ours who's a psychologist. He does a lot of speaking for veterans with PTSD. And I had wrote a poem, and I sent it to him.
Hold on. Let me just say something. I want to hear I want to hear the poem. We have part of our channel is poems. I write a lot of poetry, always have. But the, while you're getting set up for that, can I read a couple questions, just two, so that we can, after that, come back we're already 5 behind here. So let's,
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. That's why they're asking questions. That's a good problem to have. If they weren't asking anything, then we'd both be saying, I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
I'm not that interesting. So this first one is powerful conversation. What is the biggest challenge veterans face after service? And you were just starting to get into that. So let's go into the poem and how that began. Step back a little further and then get it right. What is one piece of advice you give to a veteran struggling with transition? So those are the kind of questions that are all the way down and are expected, right?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest challenge veterans face after service, At least in my opinion, one is that transition period. You're 6 months and you're glad you're out. And you're like, yay, like I'm a free man. I can do what I want. Nobody's telling me what to do. After that, I went through a phase on where I missed it. That's pretty common. However, like getting a job was very hard. In the town that I live in out here in Montana, I applied to 250 jobs and got not a single callback.
Really?
No, I got 3 callbacks, and the 3 callbacks that
when
I got.
Was this? What date?
2018.
That's
June.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. With that, what they wanted to see, and I understand it and I don't. It's a double-edged sword. They want to see stability. I can't be stable unless I'm giving the opportunity to be stable. So it was a lot of like really like pushing through and like just pounding on like, well, okay, like I feel like I don't fit in anyway, and all of you out here are proving to me that I don't, when in reality that's not it.
Oh, that's that constant message coming back to you, in a trickle, but still a constant trickle. You're being punished to a sense where it should be the other way around. And I think it's moving that direction finally again, hopefully. But the just people out there, just think about that. I mean, there's pain in life, but then there's what you're describing right now, to be punished for serving your country, not violently, but trickle every day. And that's there. You probably sleep. I mean, you dream about it probably.
Oh,
your dream is tossed. I mean,
well, yeah. So like you cut, and like it's why I went into contract. It was like, okay, well, like I obviously had something going for me in the military. Yep. I try to do the civilian thing, and it's not working. I can't even get a foot in the door. Or if I do, I get an interview, and I'm told, "Hey, like we need to see more from you." Okay, like I will outperform any of your people.
I'll
like,
do that.
What more do you want from me? Yeah.
I'll show you more here. I got to be here to show you more. Come on.
Exactly. And so you just listen. You're like, okay, fine. Like you tell me you're one thing, but your actions are showing me something completely different. And then I guess my biggest piece of advice for veterans working on the transition, one is like getting networked with a community. It doesn't matter if like something that you're passionate about that is fellow veterans or community wise. That's huge.
Should be a fellow veterans.
Well, it doesn't have to be
that. Okay.
But I will say it's a
that makes you whole, makes you.
Yep. Find something to fill that plug. Yes, it will be a lot easier with fellow veterans. That's kind of one of the big things that like we do.
They know.
Yeah. Well, it's a big thing that we're working on within my project, the Heavy Hitters Project, is breaking that stigma. Veterans, we are great at doing one thing, and we love putting our trauma on a pedestal. We think nobody else can relate to our trauma. Veteran PTSD is somehow magically different than civilian PTSD. Well, no,
it's not. Yeah.
Causation is different.
Yes. Yeah.
Symptoms are the same. You can find relations if you're looking. And it's trying to rework that mindset.
Oh my God, dude, the way you're rolling that out and laying that out is so intelligent and so interesting, because you're talking about things that step by step connect.
Mm-hmm.
If you will do your poem, and then we'll do the second one, which is, I think, is good of a story and great answer there. And these guys will come back and maybe dig down a little deeper in some of those questions. So I look forward to, we've got early action here. Obviously, your message is powerful. So please read that poem, because that's what got it started, right?
Yep.
In the
beginning. So it was called In the Shadow. In the barren wastelands under cruel sun, I walked the path of a silent gun, a god of death with mortal hands, trading lives for payment plans. Many faceless, nameless cries in the heat of conflict, no goodbyes. A fleeting glimpse, a final breath, my legacy written in shadows and death. Their lifeless eyes, their silent pleas echo through my midnight seas, a torrent of guilt, a flood of pain, marked by each life that I've slain. Each soul I claimed a price was paid, and blood-soaked hands the bargain made. With every death, the darkness grew, a hollow void where light withdrew. The ghosts of those fateful days in the abyss, they still play. A gallery of tortured dreams, a cacophony of endless screams. In crowded rooms or empty nights, their shadows linger, twisted sights, a mercenary's chosen path, haunted by relentless wrath. In waking hours, I wear a mask, but in my heart remains the task to reconcile the countless dead with the soul that's bound by threads. Though years have passed, the memory stays a shadow in my heart always. For in the endless desert night, I lost my soul with every fight.
You wrote that?
Yeah.
Are you a poet?
Yeah. That's what
okay,
I.
That was good. I mean, I expected, obviously, if you're willing to read it, you're proud of it, right?
Yeah.
But I was expecting, okay, this could be. I'm a poet. I have a in this channel, we have a play. You know, they have playlists.
Yeah.
One of them's about poetry. I'm just building it up, but irrelevant. I don't even know why I brought that up. I was just so excited to hear what you said, because you know how poetry is. You're creating a vision, an image in your mind that's affecting you throughout your body, and that was beautiful. So that's the moment, that's the energy behind, that's the thought process behind starting this thing for you.
It was what got me onto Two Docs and a Grunt, a podcast, because I sent it to a friend. And he was.
I didn't catch that before. Did you see your matchmaker?
Maybe the coin it.
Exactly. I said you should coin that. Well, duh.
Yeah, that was I sent that to him, and he was like, "Well, come on, share your story, share your poem, and we'll see what happens." So that's what started it all. So as I learned, poetry is how I deal with a lot of my issues. Something interesting is depression and anxiety. So that part of your brain, when it's firing, if you do something creative, that portion of your brain cannot function. The creative portion clicks on, and your extreme anxiety and depression has to suppress. It has to for that to function. So you get a little bit of a reprieve. And that's why usually when you write, you feel better afterwards. But that could be anything from like coloring, painting, any sort of creative expression. That's
amazing, because I've literally lived that. I mean, that's why this podcast is here, because it was built as a platform originally. Now it's kind of gained its own life. But I feel that. It started because I wanted to build a platform for a book I wrote. And before that, you're exactly right. And I changed my entire way, my direction in life, because I finally came to a moment and realized I'm not doing what I enjoy doing. The writing, the poetry is what keeps me calm and keeps me in this beautiful life that I'm living now.
Right.
That's huge, man. Let's do a couple of things here. Did we do that one? No, you already did that one, right? Go here.
Yeah,
this
the
was
one piece
the one
of
I
advice.
was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's finding that way to fill that gap. Getting
that hole you were talking about.
Yeah. So for me, it was a community of like-minded people. We enjoyed gaming, getting with them. How do you think the VA system could improve for veterans struggling with PTSD?
Yeah, that's a big deal right there. But when you say gaming, do you mean video gaming?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I'm pretty good at that stuff.
There's a lot of things the VA system could do for veterans struggling with PTSD. Like, I don't know, answer their phone, the 988 hotline. That would be a good start.
Let me ask you something. So we had an administration, then we had another administration, and now we have the other one back again. I'm not turning this political or anything, but over that period of time, my dad was in this, and I see it, man. It was really, really, really bad. Then from what I heard, it got pretty darn good, and then I've started to hear these stories again and again. Is that true, or has it always been kind of?
It's always been kind of terrible. I personally have gone to voicemail calling the suicide hotline. So like, and I know it happens. I've heard statistics. Obviously with what we do at the Heavy Hitters Project, I've heard statistics that in 2024, roughly, I think it was like, I don't want to misquote it, but I believe it was around 40,000 calls went unanswered.
40,000 calls?
Yeah. It was either 4 or 40, somewhere between 4 and 40. Regardless, missed one is too many.
Oh my God, yes. And then then by multiples.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's horrible. That's a government controlled and run system for you, isn't it? Is that the biggest problem? Is it bloating? What's the reason? I mean, the last people that should be struggling with that are you guys, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, because that's why I'm safe.
So I think it comes from a lot of not understanding
from
everybody, like even the veterans and civilians, of not understanding the struggle, right? We, looking inwards, don't understand our own struggle. Not only that, but we like to compare our traumas and like, well, my trauma is better than your trauma. Like, no, that's not that. I've been through worse than you. That's not how this works. So we create division, like within our own community, where we gatekeep. Oh, you can't be a part of us because you didn't deploy to combat, but like something terrible happened to you in the States. Like, who cares? Like something bad happened. It's not my job to say you belong or not. It's my job to go, you're in pain. Let me help.
Yeah.
Or you're my brother or sister. Let me give you a hand.
Yeah. Let's walk this path together.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, that's horrible, man.
Yep. And then you look at like the civilian side, right? So you've got Hollywood they make veterans and war to be a hero.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really it. And then when they do show PTSD, it's over a lot of like the unbearable facts, right? Like, oh, he's super aggressive. Like, no, that's not always the case. Like,
correct.
I
would assume that's probably the lesser of percentage-wise of the cases. I mean, the more of the cases being quiet, you know, it's that male, you see it on social media a lot now, but you know, you're struggling within, your battles are happening. You don't have anybody to talk to. That's what's happening most of the time, right? Not that, I mean, all happen, but realistically, we're focused on the wrong freaking thing in Hollywood again.
Surprise.
Yeah, right. All right. So go ahead. Sorry.
The true issues don't make money. Nobody wants to talk. Okay, so we talk about depression, right?
Yes.
So everybody knows that causes a lack of motivation and it'll keep you in bed. Okay.
Yes.
You've struggled with depression. How many people have you heard talk about the little voice in your head while you're laying there in your bed telling you that you're worthless because you can't get up to do basic tasks? Yeah. Absolutely. That's not going to sell. That's a darker truth of depression. Nobody wants to talk about the guilt that's faced, just the fact that, well, you're demotivated. So it's okay.
Oh my God, yes.
So we don't go any deeper into it. Surface level, basically. What role does community play in veteran mental health recovery? It in my opinion, it's huge.
You were kind of opening with that, in that it's probably the most important thing, right?
Yeah. It's what got me through. Is having people that I could relate to, regardless on whether or not they were veteran, first responder, or civilian, but people who would stop and go, you know what, I see that you have struggles and I love you for it anyway. Let me be your friend instead of like a dude who's worried about, like, you know what I mean? We've forgotten how as a society to be friends again and trying to relearn that. And
we talk about that all the time on this show. And now this is that same thing, but probably more of an extreme example, because there's issues happen. You know, we're just not friends with our neighbors anymore.
Yep.
You know, but if you're also dealing with stuff, and you should be, and that solves things. What's the old saying? It takes a village to raise a family or a child or something like that.
It takes a village to raise a kid. Yep.
Yeah.
How do different branches of the military approach mental health support for their veterans? I can only speak to the Marine Corps. Yeah,
is it different?
Yeah, I would say so. I also know like it's different between. So it's different. It's different even between commands. Okay, so like let's take like an infantry battalion in the Marine Corps. My first unit was 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. An infantry battalion, you don't really. It is stigmatized. If you're getting mental health, you are weak. And if you're weak, you're not capable to accomplish the mission. Now, is that true for all of them? No. But like that's what I saw my first year in the fleet was that kind of mindset. And then I changed units and it depended on the leadership. There were leaders who were like, no, we need to take care of you. But there was also leaders that didn't give, I won't swear. They didn't care.
Say rat's ass. Say rat's ass.
Yeah, they didn't care until after one of our guys killed themselves. And then they made a big shit dog and pony show about it.
During, right, like there? Like, did he go back home?
He went back home. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he killed himself. And then afterwards, they want to be like, oh, well, we care about you. Mind you, this is the first time I've seen half of these guys and gals. And it's like, yeah, you care about me. No, you just don't want to look bad because one of our dudes had enough. Like, and so like, I would say yes.
Wow. That is, you know, we don't understand the military as common people, as, you know, the people out there that aren't involved. I mean, we know what the big mission is, and, you know, we love our military and we hear about the technology all the time. But you brought up two things here that are not nearly talked about enough. They, and what's amazing by this is that it's also a big issue with common civilians. You know, I don't know how to not say that the wrong way, but it's the same mega important, but you never hear about it over here from the people that, again, I'll say, I'm safe because of you guys, you know, and gals. We all are. We have the ability to not only that, but keep the world safe. I think we see every once in a while that, thank goodness we're the big powerhouse, because, you know, some of these guys just want to blow everything up, you know. So this is the thing that should be a common experience in the U.S. citizen's mind, because there is a bigger story going on here. Now you're being affected by that in my benefit and your demise, so to speak, not demise, right? But your demise in these. But it seems like there's more, except you're starting to see it in extreme cases. There's more concern about this group over here, where there should be an obvious and formidable concern over here because of where they're coming from and what they're dealing with. It's multiple. You're dealing with it over there, and that's huge. And then you got to come over here and be totally different again. Mm-hmm. Right?
So one, and this is something that I've said many a times, and I stand by this, is it is cheaper to worship our veterans than it is to fix them. It is more cost effective to sit there and say, thank you for your service. Let me give you a 10% discount, right? Or whatever it may be. Then, hey, let me help you. Let me give you a chance to be better. Let me guide you through these resources. Let me provide you with this service that will help you with whatever struggles you may be facing. It's cheaper to be like, well, thank you. Don't you feel grateful that, like, we're grateful for your service? Like, aren't you happy? Like, yeah, sure, that's great, but how does that help me?
Yeah, I got a Band-Aid over that wound. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that you never think about it that way. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
How do you think social media can be used to spread awareness about veteran mental health?
Exactly. Great. I think a great question. It's already starting.
Yeah.
But with your organization, do you ever use that tool to?
Everything that we do is across social media. All of our events are streamed through Twitch. Like that's where like we do mental health Mondays and Wednesdays.
I don't know Twitch very well, but what's your handle or?
It's heavy_actual.
Heavy_actual on Twitch.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, at the end, I usually throw you back into the green room and you can watch obviously from there. And then I close up the stuff. There's a closing video, but I also use that time for like you can only, I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know the technology. I don't know what's wrong, but you can't comment in the open comments.
Right.
You can private comment me, and then I can copy and paste it over there. In other words, your contact information at the end. Before I forget to say that at the end sometimes because I get so wrapped up in all this stuff. So, what do you think, man? Social media, and AI actually.
Yeah. So, like the key to it is having these real conversations on coming out and talking, sharing. Like for me, like sharing my story. Other veterans sharing their stories, what they've been through. Obviously, like as an organization, one of my biggest things is I don't force people to share. You can come on, you can talk with us. You don't have to share anything. I'll talk. I'm fine with talking, obviously. But
I know the feeling.
But if you want to relate to it, and what I've noticed is people will relate. And they're like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. I felt that before. And then they start sharing and then they start opening up and it starts a conversation. So like using social media to talk about the truth, right? Everybody's plugged in. Well, let's start making this common knowledge and not like some hidden sacred knowledge. And let's start connecting with one another. Like I said, like there should be no barrier between a veteran and a civilian. There is no reason for me to feel weird as a veteran to talk to a civilian or a civilian to talk to me.
That's interesting because there is that very thin and not aggressively or anything, but there is that very thin barrier. People will wave at a soldier in the airport or make a quick thing, but there's a difference in the reality of each human at that point, and I don't. Does the soldier have the same feeling of difference from the commons? Because I know it's the other way around, obviously.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very prevalent because we feel like we're on completely different planes of existence.
Yes, exactly.
Well, like, so one of the first things that I did is I actually brought on a couple. But they volunteered to come on. They had been in the foster care system growing up. Now they're grown adults.
Oh wow.
When they separated from the foster care system, they lost that sense of belonging because they no longer had the family unit that isn't blood related. I watched my fellow veterans' minds get blown because, wait, you know what it means to be separated from your family that's not your blood? Like, there is so many similarities, but we're so focused on the different paths that we don't get to see it.
Yeah. It becomes, it's not on a plane that you can accept and visualize. Wow, that's tremendous. How many? Okay, so what are there? I'm going to sound really stupid now. Are there 20 million people in the military armed services? That combat level, whether it's plane, whatever people. Are we talking about 100?
So like active duty service members right now?
Yeah.
Let's look it up.
Oh, dude. Do you have a statistic? Look at you.
You just want active duty service members right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on a second. Let me find it. And of course, I'm typing in the wrong thing into my document.
Yeah, that won't work.
Yep. So 1.3 million active duty. There's 1.3.
1.3. So you have 1.3 active duty members, and some of those are administrative, and some of those is that. Yep, right. And so their experience coming home and that having the full life of that, maybe as somebody who's been in the military so there's different experiences, obviously.
100%.
But what is the biggest group is the guys like you, the backbone. That's what's making the plans happen. And because of that, you're dealing with the most amazing amount of stress you could ever do. Now, they may have when they were younger and all that, but when coming back home and dealing with what we've been talking about, how many of those people have the trouble of transition? And again, we're not talking about the major, things that are accelerated. As a general sense, is 20% of the people coming back dealing with, because I remember World War II, they were even talking about, ADHD. It was called something different, bomb syndrome or something. I don't know. But I mean, this isn't new.
Okay, so you're talking about how many people come back with PTSD?
Percentage wise, yeah.
So it is, and I'm not going to do a disservice here. So we are going to.
And the other half of that is it the same people and or number, or is it different? Just because you don't have an ADHD, you don't have a there's still got to be people that have trouble transitioning, right?
Yeah. So if you're talking like strictly PTSD, right? Like strictly PTSD, it's 7 out of every 100 veterans will deal with PTSD at some point in their life.
7%. Wow.
Yep, 7% versus, wow. I think the statistic nationally is like, hang on, let's look. Yeah, 6% of the general population deal with it.
Wow.
So it's 1% more.
Yeah. Which is a lot of people, 300 million people.
Right. But like that's not including like how many veterans will struggle when they separate. Most of them will struggle. Yeah.
That's even a bigger number.
Well, so like think about it, right? For most people join the military from the age of 17 to 18. You're at least required to do 4 years, right? So let's just say like a veteran who does a single 4-year tour. So from the age of 17 or 18 to the age of 21 or 22, they get out. Their past 4 years of their adult life has been the military. Structured.
Focus. Yeah.
And now they're out into something that doesn't quite make sense to them anymore. I have not, I personally, and I obviously there's going to be outliers and I'm sure there are others, but I have not talked to a single veteran friend who's not like, I haven't struggled with this.
Wow. And it's a struggle because you pointed out the ages there. We gain our personality when we're young. The human brain and experience evolves over time. And at certain points, there's, critical input that should be made to be able to come that next person. And what the military does, what happens, what happens when when you go that direction to serve our country like that, first of all, it's amazing, but it's during the time you learn how to react and interact with a boss, because your commander doesn't act like a boss, hopefully doesn't act like a boss in the civilian world. So your interaction and ability to interact, you haven't even learned it yet, while everybody else started learning it at 17, 18, right? Mm-hmm. You're handicapped.
Yeah. And it's just different. It's just
so that's different. Most people.
Yeah.
Wow. If not all, almost all.
Right.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So if we still build off of the social media thing here, so what do you guys do? You guys post on each of the platforms. What are you doing the podcast on, like you just talked about, and spreading that around? Or so how do people find out? I mean, it's not an unknown thing. Thank God. It's not an unknown thing about what veterans struggle with.
Yeah.
Now, does that fix things? Not necessarily. Go ahead.
So all of our socials and everything is on our website, which is just heaviesproject.com. You go there, it'll show you. We have a Discord, which is where we communicate, like as a community. That's where we talk.
You young badgers,
right?
Discord.
I had somebody build it for me. Thank you.
Well, no. The reason I bring that up is earlier you said gamers, and my name is Rod Xfire. On some of the stuff, my older sons got me into it, and now I probably play it at least, if not more than they do. But I play all probably similar ones that you have. But it was like 2 years ago, one of those, I think it was actually just a Clash of Clans thing, but one of those, they wanted to meet, and I still to this day, I couldn't figure out how that whole Discord thing works, but it's big time, right?
Yep. It's basically the modern like AOL Messenger. It's a way for people to talk and communicate. It's how we push out our information. It's where like everything happens for us. Because people from
so is that your base? Is that
more or less? Yep, that is
to build off of. Is that okay?
Yep.
Do you have a handle? Is there a handle on that? There is a handle, right? I never figured out how to sign up. I couldn't get it, but
so there is
a handle?
Yeah, on our website at thatheaviesproject.com.
Oh, you said that. Yes.
Yep. You click on the Discord in the little picture there. You click on that, and it's an invite code, and it'll pull you straight into Discord with us after you create an account.
And so you have a community building in there that's also
I've got
communicating about.
I got like 115 people in there. I got my team that's built around trying to support one another. It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Well, ow. Sorry, I just got a bubble in my chest there. That's
you're good.
Comfortable. Give that website one more time, and then we'll go on down to the next question here. Heaviesproject.com.
Super simple.
Spell that first part. Did you heavy what? Heavies?
HEAVY project.com.
Oh,
it might have an S. Yeah, it might have an S. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, because I was hearing that, and I have anyway, I was hearing that. We're some early warning signs. What are some of the early warning signs? And it's not just veterans that they may be struggling with their mental health. And I know that for a fact, but we're talking here and we're focused here. So that's a great question.
Yeah. So veterans, anybody really, a common trend that I've noticed is isolation. I do it. I like to isolate myself. I will hide.
Oh yeah. Hey, shit happens, dude.
I will hide. I will isolate myself from the outside world. I will not communicate with people. I shut down because my cup is full and I cannot deal with anybody else right now. But there's a lot.
My God, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And then isn't there a change of, personality? Yes, because you become withdrawn. But is there other things that to be able to look out for? All we want to do is become better humans and be able to interact with each other. On top of that, let's mash. I got a ton of questions here, but this is really a good thing where we are. Mash together what that looks like in when somebody
can do you one better.
Okay.
How about instead of looking for early warning signs?
Okay.
How about you go up and ask them?
That's where I was going. Yes. So if you see something, hey, brother, what's up? How you feeling? And now what will that reaction typically be back is where I was going.
So there's one of two things that are going to happen. And it depends on your relationship with that person. One, they're going to go, I'm fine. I'm okay. Then that's when, if you're really concerned about it, you go, I need to know, are you safe? Are you going to kill yourself? Ask the question. Don't be afraid to. I do it all the time with my guys. When I notice, and gals, when I notice something is wrong and they're way outside the norm. Hey, are you safe? Yeah, I'm good. Okay. No, I'm not good right now. All right, cool. Let's talk. Let's going
chat,
on?
Man.
Let's not let Yes, sure. Mental health is important. We need to be.
Oh, wait, before you go there, hold on. Before you go there, to finish that last, I was going to ask you a question. We talk already about social media, and you're getting your word out through these different ones. Have you ever seen? And I just yesterday was it yesterday? No, it was a beginning of the week. I had an interview, and we were going over. It was a different part of mental health, and then we were going over this part, and I asked this lady. I said, "Hey, you may not have seen this, but on social media, have you ever seen that clip, the short, the reel, whatever you call it, where two guys come out? They've obviously been their buddies, kind of hanging out in one of their houses." And then he starts to leave, and obviously the buddy and he are just, this scene opens as they're going off that little step porch. And then the one friend continues to walk right towards his car to be gone for the night. The guy in the door says, "Hey, buddy," well, he's a lot better at asking this question than but he asked, "Are you going to be okay?" Just exactly what you're saying. And the guy goes, yeah, I'll be okay." And then, oh God, it's going to hit me again. God, I got emotional last time. Bear with me here. I'm going to try and go through this so you can hear it without me sobbing all over the place. So the guy says, "Yeah, I'm going to be okay." And he starts to turn around, and his buddy at the porch said, "How do I know that? I mean, are you really going to be okay? I mean, are you just say?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then he said, how are you that confident in that? Obviously he was in a place, and his friend really picked up on it. It was heavy, right? And the guy came back and answered, "It's the hardest thing to say, because you'd be embarrassed, or you'd be, it would affect your image of me."
Yep.
That crushed me, because here it is. A guy wants to leave. I know that. That's, there's no hope. What are you going to do? I'm going to go to rest. I'm going to rest now for, this is what you're thinking. And, all those minds, all those questions, all those words. But when that dude says that, now you're also realizing that's all going on, and he's not going to, because of you.
Yep.
That blows my mind, man.
Just ask the questions. Like I understand it is a personal thing. It is. And it isn't something to be taken lightly. But you are doing people a disservice by not being. Obviously, if you cannot handle it, and that is something I really want to hit on.
You can't handle what? The conversation, or life?
If you can't handle talking with people about what is going on because you have your own full cup and you can't deal with it, do not offer to be there for somebody.
Yeah.
Because the worst
you got to be available.
Because the worst thing that can happen is they are finally like, "I'm going to talk to somebody," and they reach out to you. And then you're like, "I can't deal with you right now." And okay, cool. So he couldn't deal with me. Let me lock down. And I will not do this again. So just avoid
rightfully
that.
So. And rightfully so. I mean, anybody that's just dealing with life, is going to have kind of that reaction to a degree. But now we're talking about somebody that is convinced already that they are not suitable. They are not what they really are. They're less than they think. They think they're less than they really are, and now they get rejected again.
Yep.
By somebody who already said they'd be there for him.
Yep.
Wow. Because that's not easy to open up to somebody, is it?
Nope.
There's times that people haven't, right? They kept it here, like in little boxes in your mind, stacking these little boxes, shutting them away.
Yep. Compartmentalization.
Wow, exactly. The transition from structured life, this is kind of something we already kind of talked about and kind of blended in here, but anything you want to add to that as we go into some other transitions here?
So it's just harder because it's not the same. There are things that you have to learn. So like oftentimes it's like, well, just be patient. Like you will figure it out. It's okay.
Is that the right advice? I mean, look at
my biggest
Junior
thing,
comes home, moves back in with his parents, but they're freaking out because he's not Junior anymore. And no disrespect for those names, but how do you so be patient?
Mm-hmm.
Expand on that. What?
So
obviously, I get it.
Yeah, show them that same compassion you would show other people. Sit there and go, okay, cool. Like you're struggling with this. That's cool. I got you. Like we'll figure this out together. Work with them. Like obviously, like I am not saying enable bad behavior, but like help them on the right path. Like okay, they need help finding a job. Well, like you got a little bit of free time, 10, 15 minutes. You can sit there and pull up a list of, okay, these are places that you could go work at. Let's sit down and do a resume building class together. Like as a civilian, like you should know how to write a resume. As a military member, we kind of get taught it, but it ain't good.
Yeah.
So like
it's different.
Help.
How does that reaction work come back? You know, when now you're giving that advice, exactly what you're saying. Typically, is that like, oh, thank you. So, or is that like
you may not see it, right? Like, I know from
they're not going to jump up and down.
Yeah, like you're gonna it
high five you.
Woo! Yeah, some might. Understand that
I get that.
You're just do it from a place of just trying to be a good person. You shouldn't want any sort of reaction from it anyway, other than I see my guy struggling here. Let me give him a hand. Yeah. We shouldn't do good things for anything more than the sake of doing good things.
Yes, for no other reason.
And are they gonna maybe be upset with you? Sure. But hey, if they take the advice and they succeed from it, I would much rather someone be mad at me for helping them than being mad at me for not doing a damn thing.
I think every successful teacher in the world teaching anything has had the best students be aggravated at them because they're being pushed and challenged and helped, but
it doesn't always feel that way.
They don't recognize that. We're kind of sort of hinting on coping strategies now, but can we get a little just focus on what the strategies are for people as we blend through?
So let's go through the simple fact that the human mind is not all the same. We are not talking about a broken arm. We are not talking about a broken leg. There is no one size fits all fix for mental health. This is a multitude combination of things that needs to take place. That therapy may not work for everybody, right? There have been successful trials with like psychedelics that have worked for some people, not worked for others. Service animals have helped some people, not helped others. So what we need to do is sit there and go, okay, let me look at you like a person and say, all right, these are things that have worked for you. You have found success with this. Let's build upon that. Let's try these things if you're willing to, and let's make that happen. There isn't a one size fits all coping strategy, right?
Who's doing that? Where is that question coming from? An organization? Obviously, it should be the Veterans Administration, but where's that help coming from? Because that's exactly it. You don't judge. You know. I want to receive whatever it is you need to give.
So there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in the United States of veterans organizations that are doing phenomenal work for veterans. However, they are not easy to find because they are small boots on the ground operations that are doing this really cool stuff and really great work, but nobody's heard about them. That's a big thing that we're trying. Yeah, it's something we're trying to work on, is creating a network of nonprofits that do a whole bunch of different things to work together.
We're here, brother.
Yep.
I mean, that goes in so many ways. I was talking to a guy the other day about actually it was about ADHD. This one example I'm going to give you, but he had the same thing in that it's totally different than one that society understands. It's your brain is making some difference, and you know that goes for a lot of different impacts like this there, but it's frustrating to hear all this stuff that's there and it's available. And, I don't like to say this. I hate to say this, but the elites have a different level of access to, things that are critical and things that are not just money, right? They have access to stuff, and there's so much that's here. And when you start to see the things that are happening, you realize how discompetent, I don't know if that's a real word, but disconnected and incompetent that level is. And they're taken care of, they're protected, but we're paying for the position they're in to do what they do, and they're not doing it well. And it's crazy. So, all right. What do we got here? We got some of the most effective resources available for, they're out there. That's kind of, but they're hard to find, right?
It's gonna come. There's a myriad of answers for that, but it's understanding once again that the brain is a complicated place and it's different for every person.
So you got to do research and do some follow-up.
Yeah, and obviously that is hard when you are in a crisis situation and you're like, I don't want to be here anymore. So how are you supposed to do that? So once again, that's where what we're trying to work on is to centralize it and make it so, okay, you don't have to. We know who to put you in contact with to do these things.
Yeah, and it'd be a beautiful thing if that was a common. If that you described it as hard to find and get these resources, this isn't going away anytime soon. Like we were talking about, it's been around forever. And we're just now kind of starting to learn about what all of these different mental illnesses that we deal with are. Some of them say they're food related. Obviously, traumas. I'd say trauma is probably the biggest one, other than maybe drugs or genetics where something wacky happens, but this is such an important part of knowledge that needs to be shared and readily available to the masses, because a healthy middle class is a strong country, USA, but you got to be healthy and all the way around, right? How do you build societies if you're struggling yourself, right?
You don't.
Exactly. So some of the effective resources we kind of chatted at, and that's such a shame, because it's so hard to. I'm just hung up on that. What you were saying. There's millions of them, but I get it. They're like the little street corner. 15 people are associated with, and are whatever. The small town Baptist church is what you're looking for when you're looking for these things. It sounds like.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. How do you personally cope with the weight of service and transition? Yeah, okay. So same question, but how are you doing it? I mean, is it the additional service now that you're doing?
So for me, I struggled for, it's 2025 now. So whatever 18 to 25 is, 7 years? Struggled with it. Still struggle with it, but I refound a purpose, right? I am dealing in lives, but there is no negative, the negative connotation is, it's still bad, but we're not in conflict. We are writing a sense of scales, right? So for me, it was finding somewhere where I could have my foundation again on what I believe to be important in saving lives. Well, we just do it in a different way now.
Yeah, that mission was just tweaked a little bit, wasn't it?
Yep.
Same mission. And that's probably easy to explain, because that's probably something that's built in within you, in your DNA. You're learning, you're growing up, all that came together, and you're a person of service. So that makes you unique. I mean, there's a lot of people who are in the service, but built to be for service of others is incredible. Just a comment here. Thank you for bringing a light to such an important issue. Yeah, but it's a light in a really, 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 really big dark room, right? You're getting a little glow.
Yeah.
But you got a long way to go. You can even make a shadow if you get close enough to the light, right?
Right.
So how do you think the military culture affect? Hey, by the way, any of these you want to build on? I mean, yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some things that might be interesting here, but most of all, making sure I mean, these are great guys here. These are great folks here. They're asking. I think it's obviously that you're interesting because they're not asking how much longer do you guys have.
Right.
They're asking questions, you know. It's pretty good. But anyway, how do you think the military culture affects veterans' willingness to willingness to seek? I think only until it gets extreme does that start to even become a consideration, right? Especially,
so it depends.
Is it different for guys and girls? Guys and gals? In that,
I wouldn't say so. The sense of
I would think so.
Well, okay, so I'm going to talk to it from what I know and what I saw as leading both male and female Marines. Male Marines, we think we've got to be tough. We think that as the typical male, right? Okay, so now you're a female in a male-dominant organization who cannot be seen as weak. So, like, are they going to be just as likely to ask for help? Or is that going to show that same weakness?
Yeah. Well, that is definitely a fear. I'm looking at now I'm looking at it differently. So the guys have their struggle that we just talked about and is common. It's the thing. But the girls have that potentially. You and I are old school. We're guys. We're not anything different. I got nothing else going on. But those ladies have to be tough. And boy, some of them, oh my God, with physical fitness now, some of them are really getting extremely fit. However, the genealogy, the chemistry, the estrogen, the testosterone causes a little bit different in the psyche of the brain. The man also is kind of brought up to don't show people, not because you're looking at weak, but I never find out because I never want to show people that I don't already, you're used to having the answers. You're used that. And I hope this doesn't sound sexist today because I'm hearing more about it, but that male construct and that woman construct are both awesome in their own unique way. But sometimes being able to do things that are soft, like admit that you need help, are, as I understand it, harder I would have said harder for men, but now I'm saying now they've got to deal with that too, in that they have to balance whether their natural inhibition to want to communicate is being suppressed. So there's even maybe women have a harder time. Obviously, they both have about the same.
Yeah, it is not a one size fits all answer again. Imagine.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like it is obviously going to depend. Like
it's the brain, man.
Yeah,
it's men the brain. There is
are going to have an easier time talking about it. That's fine. So some females are going to have a harder time talking about it. Okay, we get it. But what we can do is destigmatize it. We can make it where it's not uncommon and it's not looked down upon to say, hey, you know what? I am struggling. I need help. Let's not reprimand me for needing help. I'm doing something that's kind of hard here by asking for help. So that's kind of how I view it. It doesn't matter. Like it's more of like, well, how about we just destigmatize it?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, the hardest thing about, bear with me on this.
Okay.
The hardest thing about mental illness is asking the question.
Yep.
Because of everything we're talking about. But to me, it seems like that's the hardest thing, because if you don't, you're affected. I mean, it doesn't go away unless you get help.
Yep, exactly.
And when you get help, it very well can. There was I hate to open up. I hope nobody's listening. Okay, just between me and you. Here, I'm gonna let you know something. not so far away, and it sounds like the similar time. I'm a civilian, so we've been talking about these comparisons. There was a period of time, and I had somebody help me through it, and I took medication and stuff to balance some things off. But I had a mental a break. I had there was reasons for it, blah blah blah. It happened, but literally I'm a salesman, so it was noticed. Bless you. And but literally, like you said, you pull in. For weeks, I couldn't go out of my apartment, my place. Yep. I could make it if I just go into the office if nobody's there. But and then I had to meet factory people with every excuse in the book. Oh, I don't feel good today. All of that stuff. And then on top of it, you have to kind of self-medicate, which is never very good at all. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. I was listening.
Oh, I was setting you up for maybe a throwback at me or something.
Oh, there's nothing to throw back. I more or less agreed with you. So,
what about? I mean, we already talked about this too, because it all goes back to support, right?
Yep.
The more support you have, the more you can personally stay mental strong and motivated through the tough times. Because just because you're in a program, they talk about this in several programs. Life's not going to change. You're going to change how you deal with it.
Yep.
Right.
So there's a couple on that, right? Like, it's all about finding the things that work for you. Like I said, I found poetry that helps me. This community that helps, being around like-minded people where we can all talk and not judge one another for being different. And at the same time, like I do a lot of grounding techniques. I go outside barefoot in the grass because it helps ground me out. But
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Yeah. We've actually had shows about that. It's awesome.
Yep. And then like another thing is like I find I have my own mantra, my own thing that goes through my head that when I'm like, okay, like we're struggling today, we don't need to be here. Okay, well, let's go back to this saying and continue pushing.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's some real life stuff that I personally can even say are great positioning tools to hold through the storm. Like they say, there's an old saying that says something along the line that a ship crossing the seas, if ever hit by a traumatic storm, the captain and the crew will throw off everything that isn't absolutely necessary till they get back into port, and then they can refill and be safe. Sometimes what you offload can save those rough seas, right? This has been a fantastic conversation. I want you to do some, like, kind of wrap up, what's closing statement while you're saying bye. Is there anything we missed at all that you wanted to cover? Did we miss anything? Slide by it?
No, I think we talked about it. Like, we talked about how, like, the Heavy Hitters Project, that's what we're here for. And it's not just veterans. And I want to make it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. It's not okay.
Yeah. So our community, because I'm trying to break a stigma between veterans and civilians.
That's a great idea.
I can't do it with just veterans. I need civilians in there too, so we can start drawing these connections together and being like, oh no, I relate to this. It's a crazy concept, I know, talking with one another and becoming friends, but we can do it.
Hold on. You finish what you're saying. I got to get off because I got down the road.
Yeah. So basically that, right? Like it is not just veterans. It is civilians. It's military. It's first responders. It's guys from Australia, Britain, Canada. It's all over the world. And we come together and we're just working on building each other up. That's it.
That's awesome. And that's where everything in one part of what we talked about is based upon, because you bringing a community together let's call it a mixed race. That's a mix of military and civilian. That's the best way you can, I would assume, the best way you can get the word around,
Yep.
That everybody believe it's
a problem,
not a unique problem. It's across the span.
Yeah, it's a society issue and not just a single person problem or a single type of person problem. It's wild. And
it is wild.
What, we can just do this by being friends? That's insane.
That, sometimes things can be so easy and we don't know it. Be friends. You're helping each other both ways. Great conversation, Robert. I really appreciate it. Say bye to everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
I'll send you back to the green room, and I'm going to close up. Fascinating. When I wanted the subject, and I was really excited about the subject, and then I asked you a couple of questions because it also. I hate to say it also is good if it's entertaining and flows and you have a great conversation. I expected all of that to be good. You're way better than I even expected it to be. That was awesome. Well played, well handled. You could see the Marine Corps in that elegance of mannerism. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I was also prior intel, so talking to people was my thing. So
okay, you cheated. Yes, I didn't know that.
I can't give all the cards. That puts me at a disadvantage, good sir.
Yeah, and nor does it allow us to have the follow-up one, right?
Right.
All right, my friend. You have a good one. We'll be talking soon, okay? All right.
Sounds good.
You bet. Whew. You guys that know the show and have been around for a while know I've been looking forward to that for quite that particular episode for quite a while as a megaphone, as a speaking point for the issues of the middle class. You'll see we have 3 or 4 or 5 different episodes that touch on that from different aspects, and which says 2 things to me. One, it's an important subject, right? There's a lot of people really trying to, figure out the brain, much less, when something goes wrong. So those things are important, and it's important for us, like you were saying, be friends. I mean, that's the bottom line of this show. Wave at somebody, create a vibe around you that other people want, that other vibes, people that want to be in your same space. That you attract to that place because, it compliments somebody when you're walking by them on the street. Don't get all up in their Kool-Aid or act weird or anything. But, I just did this the other day. I was walking my dogs. I got those, the dogs. And then this lady walked by me, and about a second after she walked by, there was this, fragrance. There was this really good smell. And it struck me. And I said, hey, sorry, ma'am, I apologize. What are you wearing perfume? She goes, as a matter of fact, I am. I said, wow, that smelled really good. And then I said, thanks, and head up. But her day, her smile, her face lit up because that's what people need. They need reassurance, they need support because they're also giving it back. You always hear about the moms that are, going to take a day for themselves because they spend all day giving to obviously the children, and there's that time that really is special when you get acknowledged for it. And I know that's a little off subject, but it still has the same thing because all of these things are important in building each one of us building our own human species, and as a result, we're building an entire society. As a result, that society has earned the right to start really taking a look at their representatives and questioning what it is that they are or are not. I mean, how many examples? Here's another one. The VA, it's a pile of boop, right? I mean, that's everything that should be important to our politicians is not. So, but until we get really these conversations going, this information understood better, the only way to get this cleaned up is through facts and several election periods. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's already starting to eyes are starting to open up and look at things because of reactions of powerful people. So we'll leave that for another conversation. As I always say, this has been the most beautiful experience for me to go through, and what we were talking about, PTSD kind of stuff. I don't mean to do PTSD. And by the way, I said ADH. Asked a couple of times there, and you didn't react. Thank you very much. I just realized I was trying to say PTSD because that's my dad had that, and it's critical, and it's devastating. You know, it's like you said, all those senses of depression and anxiety and inability to get moving, much less get out of bed. All that's a real thing. I'm Rod Duff. I love you guys. Say hi to your neighbors and get to know them, okay? Wave at somebody if you don't know them today. This on YouTube is called Insights in Straight Talk. And my name is Rod Duff, and I didn't see Barbie on the usually she's on the comments. And every once, as a matter of fact, you go on the show, the opening one is her and I talking about her transition to California. Anyway, enough of that. You guys have a great day. Enjoy it. We have 2 shows tomorrow. Robert, thank you again. That was fantastic. 100% nailed it out of the park. And with that, I'm out.
Hundreds of trillions of dollars coursing through our economic veins, there exists a pathway where no U.S. citizen needs endure poverty. Every child should be shielded from involuntary hunger and thirst. By eradicating greed and corruption, we pave the way forward. This chapter delves into the rationale behind our governmental expenditure and prompts a critical inquiry into how our leaders allocate our resources.